Okay, so let's talk about something we hear all the time, protecting your peace. It's everywhere, but what does that really mean in practice? And more importantly, how do we do it without just building a wall around ourselves and ending up totally alone? Let's get into it. You've definitely seen this online, right? Maybe you've even said it yourself. Protect your peace. Just cut people off. It's so simple, so decisive, and honestly, it feels kind of powerful to say, doesn't it? It feels like taking back control in a world that can feel pretty chaotic.
But here's the thing I've been wondering. What happens when we use that advice for everything? Is cutting someone out of your life really the best or the only way to handle things? It turns out this super simple solution might actually be creating a much bigger problem for us: loneliness.
And that brings us right into our first big idea, what I like to call the cut them off trap. Let's really dig into why this go-to move can sometimes backfire and do more harm than good. Okay, first let's be super clear about one thing. If you're dealing with someone who is genuinely abusive, manipulative, or constantly causing you harm, getting away from them is absolutely the right thing to do. That is not a trap. That's just necessary self-protection, period. The real trap, though, is when we start using this nuclear option, not because of real harm, but just because we're feeling completely overwhelmed. You know the feeling. You're stressed, you're emotionally drained, and just hitting remove on a relationship feels so much easier than dealing with all the messy feelings that come with it. And you can really see the difference right here. On one side, you have healthy distance. It's a very specific tool you use for protection against actual harm. But on the other side, that's unhealthy isolation. It's a pattern, a habit, driven by general stress that, over time, just shrinks the very support system we need to get by. This is so important. Psychology tells us that a little bit of conflict is actually normal. It's even healthy in a relationship. A truly toxic relationship isn't just one argument or a misunderstanding. It's a pattern of disrespect, a pattern of harm. If we start labeling every disagreement as toxic, we're basically on a fast track to being all alone. So if that's the trap, what's the way out? Well, it means we need a totally new way to think about things. Let's look at how we can redefine our relationships beyond this simple all or nothing idea. Okay, check this out. This is a really cool psychological concept. Think of your relationships as being in different tiers, kind of like this chart. You've got a tiny inner circle at the center. These are your absolute ride or dies, the people you trust with anything. Then you've got close friends, and then a much bigger circle for acquaintances. And here's the key. Not everyone deserves the same level of access to you. And this is where so many of us get it wrong. That burnout we feel, a lot of the time, it comes from giving that inner circle level of energy and trust to people who really belong in the outer rings. We're totally mismanaging our most precious resource, our own emotional energy. So what's the fix? It's actually not about just hitting delete on people. A lot of the time, it's just about recategorizing them and adjusting the level of access they have to you. You can still be friends with someone without giving them a 24/7 all-access pass to your deepest thoughts and feelings. Right, so how do we actually do this? How do we manage who gets in and how much access they get? Well, that takes us to our next section, a practical guide to building healthy boundaries. You know, a lot of us think avoidance is the same as setting a boundary, but they're actually polar opposites. Avoidance is passive. It's just hiding from stuff. But boundaries are active. They're you deciding what you will and won't accept, and they actually allow for healthier connections to exist. And look, boundaries don't have to be this big, scary, dramatic confrontation. They can be really small, simple things, like deciding you don't have to text back the second you get a message, or just steering clear of a topic that you know always ends in a fight, or even just saying, you know what, I can't talk about this right now. It's all about these small, consistent choices. It really just boils down to 3 super simple steps. First, you have to decide on your limit. What do you actually need? Second, you just communicate it, simply. No need for a huge dramatic speech. And third, you stick to it. Because the whole goal here, as that last step says, is to protect your energy. I really want to land on this quote for a second because this is a big one for a lot of people. It says, "This doesn't make someone selfish." Let me repeat that. Setting boundaries to protect your energy does not make you a selfish person. It makes you a person with a healthy sense of self-preservation. And that's what allows you to show up for the people who matter in the long run. All right, to make all of this stick, it's not just about what we do, it's about how we think. And that brings us to our final section, the mindset shift.
So there's this key skill here, and it's called emotional detachment. And I know, that sounds kind of cold, right? But it's not what you think. It just means learning how to observe what's happening and what other people are feeling without immediately absorbing it and making it your own problem.
Just look at the difference it makes. On one side, you've got reacting. That's when you internalize everything. Someone criticizes you and it becomes your shame. They're in a bad mood and it totally ruins your day. On the other side, you're observing. You can notice their bad mood, you can consider their feedback, but you don't let it hijack your own emotional state.
And this all points to a pretty fundamental truth about relationships, and maybe about life. A massive amount of our stress comes from one single impossible task, trying to change other people. And here it is. This is maybe the most important thing to get from all of this. You cannot control other people. You can't. You can only control your response to them. Real, sustainable peace comes from finally accepting that and putting your energy where it actually matters, on your own choices. So when you really think about it, protecting your peace isn't about building a fortress. It's more like becoming a really good architect of your own social life. You're building some flexible fences, some really comfortable rooms for different kinds of guests, and some strong doors that you control. It's all about balance, not isolation. And that's what I want to leave you with. Instead of always asking, who should I cut off? Maybe we can start asking a better question, a more constructive one. What connection in your life is actually worth protecting with a better boundary? Something to think about.